In this novel, we go through two Indian fictions, Fasting Feasting by Anita Desai and The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. Content list. Anita Desai. Anita Desai, born Anita Mazumdar, is an English language Indian novelist and author of children's books who excelled in evoking character and mood through visual images ranging from the meteorologic to the botanical. Her fiction has covered themes such as women's oppression and quest for a fulfilling identity, family relationship and contrast, the crumbling of traditions, and anti Semitism. Born to a German mother and Bengali father, Anita Desai grew up speaking German, Hindi, and English. Desai's novels and short stories evoke characters, events, and moods with a resource to a rich use of visual imagery and details. As Desai herself admits, her novels are not populated by heroic characters, whether male or female, at least in the traditional sense. The suppression and oppression of Indian women were the subjects of her first novel, Cry the Peacock, and a later novel, Where Shall We Go This Summer. As a writer, she has been shortlisted for the Booker Prize three times. Aravind Adiga. Aravind Adiga was born in Chennai on 23 October 1974 to Dr. K. Madhav Adiga and Usha Adiga from Mangalore, another famous Indian writer. Aravind Adiga studied English literature at Columbia University, New York, and gained an MPhil at Magdalen College, Oxford. Adiga was subsequently hired by Time, where he remained as South Asia correspondent for 3 years before going freelance. His articles on politics, business, and the arts have appeared in many publications. His debuted novel, The White Tiger, won the Man Booker Prize for Fiction in 2008. His second novel is Between the Assassinations, which charts the lives of the residents of an Indian town over a 7 year period between the assassinations of Indira Gandhi and her son Rajiv. His third book, Last Man in the Tower, was published in 2011. His newest novel, Selection Day, was published in 2016. Introduction to the novel Fasting Feasting. Fasting Feasting is divided into two parts. Part 1, set in the strict and authoritarian household in India, and Part 2, set in a cold and isolating home in the Massachusetts suburbs. Both the parts are narrated from the third person perspective. A wonderful novel in two parts, moving from the heart of a close knit Indian household to a cool center of an American family. In both, it is ultimately the women who suffer, whether paradoxically from a surfeit of feasting and family in India or from self denial and starvation in the US. Uma, the plain older daughter, still lives at home, frustrated in her attempts to escape and make a life for herself. Despite her disappointments, Uma comes through as a survivor, avoiding an unfulfilling marriage, like her sisters, or a suicidal one, like that arranged for her pretty cousin. And in America, where young Arun goes as a student, men in the suburbs share hunks of bleeding meat, while the women don't appear to cook or eat at all. Seems bewildering and terrifying to the young Indian adolescent far from home. Next part is introducing the White Tiger novel. Introducing a major literary talent, the White Tiger offers a story of coruscating wit, blistering suspense, and questionable morality, told by the most volatile, captivating, and utterly imitable narrator that this millennium has yet seen. Balram Halwai is a complicated man, servant, philosopher, entrepreneur, murderer. Born in the dark heart of India, Balram gets a break when he is hired as a driver for his village's wealthiest man, two house Pomeranians, and the rich man's son. According to Adiga, the experience for the white Tiger was to capture the unspoken voice of people from the darkness, the impoverished areas of rural India, and he wanted to do so without sentimentality or portraying them as mirthless, humorless weaklings as they are usually. The White Tiger recalls the death of Vishnu and Bangkok, ate in ambition, scope, and narrative genius with a mischief and personality all its own.
Food plays a vital role in the novel Fasting Feasting, which is set in both India and the United States. The title Fasting Feasting has a cultural and religious implications. Fasting refers to the physical act of refraining from eating. Feasting refers to the consumption of food. Fasting and feasting are an opposite end of the same spectrum. They are extremes, and while they are seemingly different, they both reflect the extremes of life. Fasting corresponds to Uma's point of view, and feasting is from Arun's point of view. India is less developed than America, and there is a lot of starvation, and that America has abundance in terms of food. Fasting first means less, and feasting means more. That opens a lot more interesting subjects. Fasting is less present in the book Fasting and Feasting. In both Christian and Hindu religions, fasting helps to achieve spiritual oneness with God, and feasting is an act of religious celebration and gratitude. The novel White Tiger is about a poor villager called Balram. The boy lost his mother in his early age, and while studying in school, he lost his father. An inspector who visited his school calls him as White Tiger. Unfortunately, at an early age, Balram is forced to earn money that he becomes a taxi driver in Delhi. Only then he sees the world of glamour and fake personalities. A white tiger is the rarest creature in the jungle that comes along only once in every generation. Balram is the only child in the class who can read and write, and that's why he was named as White Tiger by the inspector. Balram and the white tiger is symbolic in many ways. His action, deed, and thinking reflects the rarity within him. The way he encounters problems and situations in life is different from others. He is brave enough to break out of his scope in which a massive people similar to him have been trapped in. This is evident of his uniqueness. In the present contemporary world, it is only the rich can survive and poor always suffer. The poor do not dare to break their bars because of their trapped nature under the rich landlords and masters. But apart from all these people, Balram is very courageous and different. And he made an attempt to overcome his obstacles to idealize himself as the white tiger. Thus, the title is significant to the incidents connected to the novel as well as relevant to the topic.
I am going to talk about the past existing characters by Anita Desai. The main character of the novel is Uma. Uma is the novel's writer, absurd heroine, the never married daughter of a middle class family in rural India. He is, she is the first born baby in her family. She lived with her parents. And the next character is Arun. Arun is Uma's younger brother. He was born late in his mother's life, but was considered a blessing because he was a boy. He is big, sickly child. The next character is Aruna. Aruna is the second born in Uma's family. When she was born, her parents were very disappointed because they wanted a boy. Meera Masi is a distant relative of Uma's family. She was widowed early in life, and in order to find solace she more deeply embraced Hinduism and became a devotee of Lord Shiva. Dr. Dutt. She is an amiable and intelligent physician who tries to help Uma find a place of her own in the world, but fails against the work of Uma's parents. The last character is Mrs. Burton. She is extremely kind and generous, but a little dense regarding her family's needs. She takes great delight in grocery shopping and stocking the house, but is not much of a cook. She tries to make Arun feel comfortable. The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. The characters of this novel is Balram Halwai, born only with the name Munna boy, and by the end of the novel known as Ashok Sharma. Balram is the novel narrator and protagonist. The next character is Mr. Ashok, the Stark son and Balram's master. Ashok recently returned from America and has a gentler, milder personality compared to his wealthy and entitled family member. Kusum is Balram's grandmother. Kusum runs the household according to tough, traditional Indian family values. Parents of Balram, Vikram Halwai. Balram's father is a poor, illiterate rickshaw driver who dies of tuberculosis early in the novel. Balram's mother. Balram's mother died when he is a young boy in Laxmarang. The minor characters of this novel: Vikram Halwai, Balram's brother; Pinky Madam, she is Ashok's wife; Daru, relative of Balram; and Wen Jaiba, the Chinese premier to whom Balram addresses his letter and narrates his story of his life.
Themes: Family versus individuality. Family is deeply important in fasting and feasting. Desai portrays two families from different cultures that seem as different as night from day. Mama and Papa helm a provincial Indian family in which traditional customs dictate the marriage roles and expectations for the children. Roles of customs and traditions. Customs and traditions play a primary role in provincial India and therefore within Uma and Arun's family. Arranged marriages are expected and the girls grew up groomed to be a good wives and mothers. Mama and Papa are an example of an arranged marriage that seems more like a business than a romance. Religious influence. Spirituality is fascinating to Uma and is one of the natural outlets she finds for self discovery while attending school at a convent. Although Uma is not a good student, she enjoys learning. What's more, she enjoys the mystery of spirituality she discovers through the nuns. However, Mama and Papa's resistance to the nuns introduces the tension between Western and Eastern forms of religious influence. Now we are moving on to the themes. Corruption in India. Throughout Balram's narrative, Adiga constantly exposes the prevalence of corruption throughout all of India's institutions. Schools, hospitals, police, elections, industries, and every aspect of government are thoroughly corrupt, while practices such as bribery and fraud are entirely commonplace. Social mobility. Balram frequently discusses the issues of social mobility in the new social hierarchy of India. Having idolized Vijay from childhood, Balram recognizes the possibility of moving up in the world, but has to confront the reality of such moment throughout his story. One of the big issues is how India's social system has changed. Morality. Ultimately, The White Tiger is a tale about morality, suggesting that morality can be viewed as either rigid or flexible. Balram eventually embraces the latter option in order to justify murdering Ashok and risking his family's lives. Balram develops an alternate moral system. He reasons that the money he steals from Ashok is rightfully his since servants are exploited by the rich, and he convinces himself of his exceptionalism as the white tiger in order to rationalize his decisions.
Anita Desai's 10th novel, Fasting Feasting, deals with the theme of deprivation, abundance, and being trapped in society's claim. It also deals with male and female roles in two completely different cultures, Indian and American culture. The contrast in the novel can be understood from the novel's title. Perspective to women in Indian society is brutal, and there is big inequity if we compare this perspective to men. Woman grows up with the idea of being housewife, and their parents prepare their daughters not to be educated but to make them suitable wife for men. Marriage is most important issue in woman's life in Indian society. Uma and Aruna symbolizes two different level of women in society. Aruna is more beautiful than Uma, and because of this reason, while Uma's marriage is obligation regulated from newspaper advert, Aruna married with rich and handsome man who she chose among her suitors. In Indian culture, it is true that men has priority, but the situation is hard for men too. Men is more free, but they are obligated to being educated and able to take care with their family. Freedom which Arun seeks have been founded in his university dormitory because in that room there was no family to decide and act behalf of his name. His search for absolute freedom and simplicity made Arun alone in his university life. In a similar way, Uma was also feeling trapped because of different condition, but result was the same. Both families, children was unhappy in their lives. Desai shows us, along with various characters in this novel, that women or men, every person feels deprivation and abundance in their lives. In two different cultures, characters suffers because of different subjects. We can clearly see characters like Aruna Roma, who lives with burden of family, tradition, and with ordinance of family, ends up unhappy. In this novel, we can find a humorous perspective of class struggle in Indian society. It is not merely a novel, but it examines some serious issues like poverty, religion, caste, and corruption in India. Balram Halwa is a village boy who presents a fine retrospective narration blended with a sense of realism in this present novel. He steals money after killing his master. Later, he becomes an entrepreneur and establishes his own taxi services. Adiga says about his novel that it attempts to catch the voice of the men you meet as you travel through India, the voice of colossal underclass. Balram is a kind of person who is aspiring to overcome his social position. He becomes the driver of landlord's son Ashok and comes to Delhi. Here, he understands the wide gap between the rich and the poor. A corrupt culture is seen in this novel, where we can find that workers have no option other than migration. Poor farmers and villagers are migrated to large cities only to earn their bread and butter. In these large cities, they struggle to work. Either they break themselves or break the record. This is the image of India. In this real image, where we cannot deny that poor farmers are helpless. Power is transferred from one political party to another, but fate of the common man remains the same. We keep on discussing about politics, but we fail to choose a sensible government. The novelist has tried to convince that it is truly a duty of citizens to take care of the country. It can be understood by some powerful lines taken from the novel. People in this country are still waiting for the war of the freedom to come somewhere else from jungles, from mountains, from China, from Pakistan. That will never happen. Every man must make their own Benaras. At last, it is convincing to see that the novelist has given a detailed account of India, which is realistic both in sense and approach. The various facets of the rural and urban society has been revealed. The portrait of India has been generated through cities like Gaya, Dhanbad, Delhi, and Bangalore. The dark image of the country has been displayed through illiteracy, corruption, poverty, superstition, cultural conflict, and many more.
What the Body Remembers by Shahana Singh Baldwin. Shaukana Singh Baldwin is a Canadian American novelist of Indian descent. Her 2000 novel What the Body Remembers won the Commonwealth Writers' Prize, and her 2004 novel The White Tiger Claw was nominated for the Giller Prize. What the Body Remembers as a feminist novel. In this novel, What the Body Remembers, Baldwin brings out the point of exploitation and sufferings of a woman in male dominated society. In this novel, almost all the female characters suffer mental agonies in this patriarchal society. The male heir is one of the main issues of the novel. Satya is the strong-willed woman suffers mental agonies because of the remarriage of his husband Sardarji for the want of a male heir of the family. The heights of patience could be seen when Satya herself is looking for a new mate for her husband Sardarji. She is hurt with the discussion of Sardarji's second marriage for a male heir. Remaining unable to be productive, it leaves no choice for her except to accept and do compromises in life. Satya is no longer useful for her husband as she is barren and could not produce an heir for Sardarji. She separates Roop's children from her for her own acceptance by Sardarji by playing the role of a mother for Sardarji's children. Satya's attitudes towards Roop is cruel just because of her frustration as she is unable to win the heart of Sardarji by giving him a male heir. Roop has almost taken her authority and position in Sardarji's life. Satya is afraid of a dejection by Sardarji because she could not give a male heir to Sardarji. On the other hand, Roop has also suffered a lot through her life. Restrictions were imposed on her since her childhood. At the age of 16, she became the second wife of a 40 years aged man. Roop becomes an obedient wife because she knows that Satya is dejected because she could not produce a child, but she suffers the separation of her children. The children of Roop were separated mercilessly from her and given to Satya by Sardarji. Even Roop and his sister Madani are treated to the rudimentary education in the ordinary school, but their brother Jeevan is encouraged to learn English and to go for higher education. Isid is a necessary maker of a pure woman to get acceptance in patriarchal society. Isid means the honor or chastity of a woman. Roop's sister-in-law is cut into pieces by her own father-in-law to save her Isid or honor. She is killed to protect her from falling into the hands of other men. She is killed because our patriarchal society does not accept a shaped woman. Honor is more precious than the life of a woman. Even her dearest father is more concerned about his honor than the life and well being of his daughters and daughter in law. Roop ruminates over her father's action of killing Kusum. Even a religious minded and good hearted man is forced by his patriarchal mindset to kill the dearest daughter in law of the house. This all illustrates that woman's value is in the society is irrevocably tied to her worth as a wife and mother and to her honor as a pure woman. Once that value has been removed from her life, she is not worthy of living. Her identity is only accepted in a society if she produces offspring. Patriarchal values are difficult to challenge. Baldwin reveals the fabrication and construction of the patriarchal society in such a way that female is just a machine to produce a male heir in this novel.